Welcome to Living Art. This is KPFT Houston 90.1. Great to have you out there this week, and we're just coming off of Fund Drive, and we had a successful Fund Drive at KPFT, and so we're keeping going for another year, and that's exciting. We really appreciate your support. Here with Michael Woodson, and this is Michael Carson speaking. How you doing, Michael Woodson?
Just great. How are you tonight, Michael?
I'm great. I'm excited. We've got another year ahead of us, and we got wonderful guests tonight. We have with us tonight the Sassafras Studios. Is that correct?
Studio Sassafras.
Studio Sassafras, excuse me. Okay, great. Welcome to KPFT, and we have John here.
John Edward.
John Edward, great. Great to meet you. And then Hannah.
Yes.
Okay, and Hannah, and then...
Rachel Winters.
Rachel Winters. Okay, thank you. And so tell us a little bit about Studio Sassafras.
So it is a physical building that was built to be a small temple to music creation and now to music promotion. It's a building that I built myself with a lot of help, but I was involved in.
So you actually built it?
Actually built it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
my father was owned a construction. My family owned a construction company in New Orleans when I grew up, and so it wasn't totally out of the realm of possibility. The idea of building something.
That's pretty amazing. So musician and construction skills rarely go together. That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So it was. The reason that the building was built was that the music production that I was doing on my own sort of had outgrown the extra bedroom at my house.
Okay, gotcha.
And so I was doing enough of it that it justified having its own space. I've been a professional musician my entire adult life. I started off as a jazz guitar player and then became a guitar player in many other genres, and then slowly over time moved more and more sort of on the other side of the glass as a composer, as an arranger, and then in that process of doing that, I also learned some engineering, how to run things like Pro Tools, and
okay.
And so over time, I moved more and more into the role of a composer, arranger, music producer, and as that grew and grew and grew, I started gigging less and teaching a bit less, and the idea of building an actual studio to support that became a viable option around 2012.
Okay.
And and then through a bunch of travails, as happens with almost every custom building project, it ended up being something that my father and I built a good bit of together, again with plenty of help. And and the first actual recording session that I ran there was at the beginning of 2015.
Okay, all right.
And it's a beautiful sort of light-filled studio. So it sort of runs a bit counter to the typical idea of like a small dark cave where you go in and lose track of time.
Right, like the KPFT
aesthetic
we got going on.
Yeah.
And so it's like open, like a lot of windows.
A lot of windows.
Okay.
I worked with a great architect, and we did a lot of research into how to build a place that could both sound good and be quiet and have windows.
Okay, yeah, that would be difficult, I would think, with like the acoustics and but also feeling that space.
It was difficult, but but we accomplished it, and it's well worth it. It's a really beautiful, inspiring, sort of warm place to work.
Yeah, it sounds wonderful. Where is it located exactly?
It is literally in the first residential block north of downtown.
Okay, all right, very
so
nice.
Like right next to Papa Burger, just north of UHD.
Okay, all right, all right. It's good to know. And so it's been since 2015.
Yeah,
it's been up and running.
Yeah, it's been up and running since 2015, and. So the way it grew from just a music production business into what it is now, which is a combination of music production and music promotion, is that over the 20 plus years that I've been a professional musician in various sorts, I've been a part of innumerable projects that were, objectively quite good. But nobody ever that I was involved with ever knew how to promote those things or how to do anything with them other than perhaps get some CDs to Sound Exchange and Waterloo Records.
It's a problem with artists that we have all this art, but no way to get it out.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. And as the internet became more and more of a thing, and a number of the tools that before that were reserved for labels and publishing houses became available in meaningful ways to an individual artist, I started wanting to understand those tools better and at least be able to advise the people I was producing music with on how to promote their music. Mm-hmm. One of the first big things that got solved was was distribution. We don't have to, you can, for about $20, you can get your music everywhere, or essentially everywhere, and so that's a huge thing that used to be a label's job.
Right, yeah.
Now that can be anybody's
Cuts
job.
out all the middlemen. You can go straight to it, yeah.
Exactly. And then as social media and even old school things like websites became viable options for marketing music, using the tools of direct marketing, which is something that people have sort of figured out for hundreds of years at this point. Like the sort of the methods that go back to like encyclopedia salesmen and door-to-door vacuum cleaner sales. Like those methods work if they're adapted to art and to music. It can be adapted to use on social media and the internet in ways that are really quite effective.
It's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to start to learn how to do that, but it's a lot to learn how to do all of that and continue producing music. And so what would happen, starting around 2018, I started started asking everybody that I worked with, every artist that came my way. It was like, hey, do you want to like maybe learn how to do this stuff with me? There's all these trainings out there that offer this knowledge, but it's just too much for me to take in by myself. And every now and then somebody would kind of join me on that journey for about a week or a month. Kind of we'd get a little further, and then in 2019, Rachel and Hannah they both came to me independently to work on music of their own, and I made the same proposition to them, the same offer, and they both said yes, and they're the ones that stuck around and we've worked really hard to learn a bunch of those skills and to iterate them and use them and practice them. And actually, COVID was actually really, really helpful.
I was going to ask about that. So it's good for you all in a weird way.
It was in a weird way.
As it can be, yeah.
Yeah, they were. We met a few months before COVID hit here, and what it did was it freed up their time in a way that was, unlooked for. Where for about the next year after that, we had a lot of time to consume these trainings together and put them into use.
That's excellent. Yeah, it's funny too because it's like you have all these tools available, and we say that for artists, but most don't know how to use them actually. And it's actually a lot of work, though the actual work of social media and putting it out into the world, and not many people take the time to learn it, and like it's a long process.
Yeah. At first, I was looking for other companies to like pass the artists I work with, pass them off to, and I found a few, but it never worked well. And so I was like, well, I guess we got to build it ourselves.
Yeah, I'm glad you did. That is a huge thing. It's something I think about a lot because it's like, just do it yourself nowadays, the artists. But they need someone to guide them back into this again.
We all do.
Yeah, that's excellent. Okay, and so you all met, you came in, and you were the first artist, is that correct, that was involved?
Hannah and I came in around the same time, working on our music with John Edward. As John Edward said, it freed up our time in a way that we hadn't had before. I was working at a recording studio out in Sugar Land at the time doing AV work, and I was booked solid for 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden I had nothing, no job, and I just, John Edward made that same proposition to me and was like, do you want to learn how to do this with us? Do you want to build a team? And talked about Hannah a bit, and I was like, yeah, I have nothing better to do. And through working on our music together, we also spent some time exploring the marketing side of things. And a big factor to that also, like John Edward said, there were companies you could kind of pass people off to, but not only in his experience were they not working well, but a lot of them were really robust. They're looking for customers that can drop, $10,000 in a retainer, and that's not something that all of our local musicians can do. And so the idea a little bit stemmed from wanting to support our local art, or I guess more than a little bit, a lot of it. That meant a lot to me. I had been gigging in the city for many years, and upon learning all of this knowledge about marketing and music business, we started using myself and Hannah's music as guinea pigs. And so we'll kind of test things out, see how it works, what's fruitful, what's not fruitful, and eventually got to a point where we were like, hey, we feel confident enough about this, and people are asking for help in this area. Let's do it. Let's help other people do this with their art.
Okay, yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, and looking out for the community in that way, the people that can't afford the big companies, and helping them out in a real way. That's awesome.
Yeah,
okay,
we do like a kind of a la carte thing too. I think a lot of PR and artist development companies do just really robust stuff. And, if you want to just come to us for website design, we'll do that too. We help everyone where they are in their journey. There's no cookie cutter mold. It doesn't. We've tried that. It actually doesn't work.
Yeah, no. I assume the big companies have that and have that personal touch. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
The
it
a la
hasn't
carte.
worked for us.
Yeah,
At least.
That's great to hear. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hannah.
and we're artists helping each other, and that's kind of something I feel like that we bring to the table that isn't out there as much. We have the perspective that we're grinding and we're doing the same thing that we're teaching people how to do or helping them manage how to do. And in our relationship between, like, especially me and Rachel, being able to be like the creative director, for her, and helping her get a vision for her art has really led to this service that we can provide for people, which is this like visual aspect, helping them get photo shoots and video shoots and content created around their art, and also support them with social media. And it's been a really beautiful journey to be able to help people around the city and other fellow musicians. So
Yeah, it's incredible. Always a fan of that at KPFT, the community in general, and just artists too, helping artists out, right? And so you all have a background. Do you have the same type of music that you do, or completely different?
No,
or?
it's one of the fascinating things about our little team here. We all come from different generations and very different musical backgrounds. So, like, I was trained, as a blues and rock musician early on, like a guitar player. But then I went to U of H and studied music there for several years, and was a jazz musician for a long time. So that's a pretty knowledge intensive, music theory intensive, technique intensive path. And so that's my background. Why don't you talk about your background, Rachel?
I always loved the synth pop R&B side of things, like we're doing now, but I actually came more from a background of alt rock, heavy rock, gigged around the city for a long time doing those genres. And really it was only because, how do you create synth pop with live instruments?
Right.
Wasn't able to translate into what I wanted to do at the time, but it was still such a beautiful time of my life. I was a big fan of Halsey, Thundercat, Hiatus Coyote, St. Vincent, all that. And I was like, I want to make music like them.
Very nice. Okay.
And I've been a gigging rock musician in Houston for over a decade. I have my own band now. It's called the Hot and Heavies.
Oh, fun name. Okay,
yeah, we're playing at the Continental Club soon. And I've been a huge fan of the music community here. I've just always been going out to live music and have a real, beat on the street of what's going on. So it's just so wonderful to be, here and to be supporting our scene.
Okay, I can see why. And so as musicians, was there something that you felt like most impressed that you needed to be helped with, and this is why you came up with the studios? Is there anything in particular that jumped out?
Yeah, I'll start from there's a general thing that then becomes very, very particular. And the general thing is this feeling that, like, even personally for me, like as both a participant in bands, and then as a music producer or composer arranger, like poured so much time and love and energy into projects, and then it's a weird balance between the doing it for the art's sake and doing it for some sort of ego sake, or wanting, this balance between wanting to share it with the world.
Right, they're mixed in there, yeah.
And but the wanting to be able to accomplish that, it comes from a place of wanting to, in its more pure, loving form, like wanting to share this thing that I love,
right,
profoundly, and wanting to be able to share it, at least have a chance of sharing it with more than just my friends and family.
Yeah, no, that's understandable.
That's possible.
Put a lot of work into this stuff.
Yeah, and that's how almost every artist I have ever worked with feels on some level, and so trying to come at the music that we help people create, or that I help people create as a producer, is very much about that. It's about finding where the love is in the music and bringing that out. And then the promotion side, we try to always bring it back to that. Like, what's the story behind the artist? What's the story behind a particular song? How do we share that in a way that is true to the original thing, the artist or the music, but also has a chance of reaching people?
Right. Yeah.
So.
That's brilliant. That is the hardest thing. We talk to a lot of artists that come into the studio, and like, you have this something that you're passionate about, but how do you retain the dignity or genuine aspects and get it out to the world at the same time. And having someone help with that, it's a scary process, and that's really great that you all can do that.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Then anything that you were thinking when you came in, like why you were about the studio Sassafras, like you felt that you had this problem in your music career and you wanted help with, and why you kind of thought this would be a good idea?
I just was so happy to have an opportunity to learn how to promote myself. That was really interesting to me. I was pouring a lot of love and money into a song that I really felt passionate about getting out there, and to be able to have the tools to get it in front of people all over the world now was such a great opportunity. I could not say no to it. And then my relationship with Rachel, and building her career and supporting her with her brand and videos and photo shoots, it just led me to this realm of being the creative director at the studio, where I really have a solid sense of how to help people get a visual component around their music after it's produced. And it's just been like such a beautiful experience to be able to even create more art with people after they've made music, in a way.
Right, the art keeps on coming in different ways.
Yeah.
You're telling you had the studios you find for people, right, or to perform. You were mentioning earlier, like the warehouse that we talked about briefly.
I do a lot of location scouting because I'm from Houston, and so when a client comes to me and they need a specific video, or I'll stumble upon a location where I'm like, this place would be perfect for this artist. That's my jam. It's like, how do I make that happen? We have a staff now of people who can help us do audio recordings on location, and it's just so much fun to be able to kind of make all those connections with the art and the location and the videos and the content that we create around music. It's so much fun.
Yeah, I could see that. That sounds wonderful. Like their type of music, finding the space for that, and in the hometown, right, looking around, that are so much available.
Yes.
So much here, such a big city.
There's so much at our fingertips. Yeah.
You're listening to Living Art on KPFT 90.1, kpft.org, HD1. Thanks for tuning in to Living Art. We are talking to Studio Sassafras, John Edwards, Hannah Jones, Rachel Winters, and Michael Carson is doing the interview. I'm Michael Woodson. Thanks so much for tuning in this evening.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask, as guinea pigs, what were some things that you felt were successful in your guinea pig experiments or experience?
So initially it was kind of a, as far as like a place to start, it was a bit of you don't know what you don't know, right? Definitely was interested in music promotion, but there's so many different aspects to that. We ended up starting with social media, email marketing, and content creation. Hannah and I early on did music video shoots together. And I look back on it as essentially like a memory, creating something really special with my sister. That's how I feel about it.
Okay.
I have some really special BTS videos from all of that. Anyway, the social media side of it, we got a good handle on, a way to tell your story that doesn't feel, people don't like being sold to, and we're not really in the business of selling to. We're in the business of telling the story, explaining the song, the meaning of it, connecting with others. And then furthermore, from social media, when the concept of advertising being available to independent artists came on our radar, that, for me in particular, was something that just opened my mind. I was like, I have to know more. And dove into it. We dove into it. We tested things out. We learned methods that had worked for other people, tested them out on me, adjusted along the way. So social media advertising has been a big part of that, as well as just the content creation side. And then email marketing, website design, being able to send people through an experience around the song on your webpage, private web pages, making
I didn't even know this exists.
Yeah, these secret, exclusive experiences for people that love the music, and just helping the audience connect to it as much as they want to. Transparency, connection, all those types of things were successful for us, and the content creation, the music videos.
That's cool that you do music videos still. Like you just go on, you record them at sites, or like how the music videos.
We try to do as much of it in-house as possible. I mean, there's a reason to have really polished content, of course, but there's also a really good reason to have just stuff shot on your iPhone. And our motto when we first got into this was like, we want to teach you how to fish. You know, we'll teach you how to do all of this. But it just comes down to the fact that we just need to do it sometimes. And so it's been, just been so much fun just like doing this with our phones and making amazing stuff. Like my music video Rachel shot, she ran live audio for my whole band, you know, eight channels and under a bridge, you know, and the, you know, so it's,
wow, okay.
it's yeah.
It's like in there, in the site. I love that. Okay.
Yeah. So we're just trying to be that's my thing, is to kind of be a little bit more innovative and how can we kind of like get some interesting backgrounds and get live audio. I think those are the two like winning pieces for me.
I can see why. Okay, I want to come back to like your day in the studio, but it's funny, we were having a conversation, Michael and I, last week, a big argument on the show about whether authenticity was possible in art generally. But how do you keep? Yeah, so when you have someone come in there and like, what's authentic to you? How do you feel? Do you like you make? Is it possible? I guess, and also like, and how do you retain that authenticity as you help promote them?
A big part of doing that successfully, in our humble experience, starts with really understanding what is the thing that's authentic. You know, what is the motivation for the artist? What is the story that this artist is trying to tell or be a part of? You know, even if the story is that I don't want to tell a story, that in itself is sort of a story. You know, and so if you can so that first step is getting a handle on what is the essence of that authenticity.
Okay.
Right? And so there's going to be some story aspect to that. And then, you know, it might be one way to think about that is like, what is the reason you're here making this music? What is the reason that you were wanting to spend, you know, hundreds of hours and X amount of money and all this time and all of your focus and energy into creating this? Let's just say it's one song. Like, why is that important enough to you to spend your time there and not like watching TV or going to the movies or going to a museum or who knows what?
Right. Yeah.
Right. So okay, well, let's tell that. Like, whatever that is the odds are a whole bunch of people feel the same way.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So let's find a way to tell that story from a variety of angles. You know, is it, you know, some of it can just be really direct. Like, you tell us. Like, let's just put you on camera and, like, you tell us why you're doing this.
Okay, just let it happen.
You know, it can also be like it's going to be, if it's expressed musically, you know, which it is because we're making music, then there's probably a visual component to that as well. You know, I mean, it could, you know, maybe it's a rock band just rocking out. Like, okay, let's film y'all rocking out.
Right.
You know, maybe it's a person who's, like, very private about their music. Well, okay, let's, you know, if you're comfortable enough being filmed in a private, you know, like let's get some footage of you writing your song in your bedroom, like what actually happened.
Oh, wow, okay, that happened for one of your artists.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So let's if you're okay, you know, like if the artist is okay with revealing that aspect of their authenticity, let's do it. Let's do that. You know?
Okay, all right. So it's always like kind of hunting down that one thing that they're holding back, maybe in the story that brings it out.
I mean, if they're holding it back, then it might be hunting it down. I think it's more about like discovering it and then rediscovering it and rediscovering it, because you do have to tell the story over and over and over again.
Right. And how to keep it fresh and vivid and rediscovered each time.
Yeah. And so there's some aspect of it being, you know, that story is new for everyone who hasn't heard it. You know, you might have had to tell it a bunch of times, just the same way you might have had to play that song 100 times or 1,000 times. But, you know, your job as a performer is to make it new every time, to tell that story to this audience that's in front of you in an authentic, passionate way.
Yeah, I never thought of that. So each time you get on stage, you have to make it completely new.
Yeah. So if you're trying to use, say, social media to promote your art in some way, then it's like we have to find some connection back to that same reason that you want to play that song.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, and so that's telling the story of what the lyrical meaning is a bunch of times. Let's do that.
Okay, awesome. So, Michael, you're wrong. Authenticity exists in the world today in art.
I've been wrong before.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do that. You know, it's and most people who get into music, part of why they want to get into it is because that's the vehicle where they feel authentic.
Right, yeah.
You know, and speaking to the camera or acting in some way on camera doesn't feel authentic. And it's you know, it's not, it may not be the most, you know, pure expression of your authenticity, but let's see if we can find it. Let's see if we can find something close to it.
Okay, yeah, I love that. I mean, music is, like, to me, the most, like, genuine, and you feel that authenticity with certain artists, and I love that you can give that space to that, and that it still exists. And so tell me, in terms of, if I were an artist, I'm a musician, say, and I come to you all, what would the process be like? Like, what would you go, how would it start?
Yeah, so it often, we try to, with that same, just to pick up where we just left off, you know, the music is the reason that the people are there. Right. So if music production is part of what's needed, that's where we're going to start. Right. So that's going to be working. You know, if I'm a good fit, you know, as a producer, it's going to be us working together side by side, building the song up from wherever it is now to where it needs to be. And so that can begin, you know, maybe somebody comes in with just a sketch on a piece of paper for like a concept.
Okay.
And everything from there is what we build together. Or maybe it's the song's almost completely done, and it's just like it needs to be mixed a little bit, or we need to bring in, you know, the right violinist for this thing, or the right drummer, or, you know, that can. So we'll start with the music, and then if then that artist wants help promoting it, then I don't know, what do we do next?
Well, then we've got to square away our branding. What is the brand? Who are you? What is your art? Why do you create it? What does your voice sound like? What does it not sound like? And voice as in like your brand voice, not your literal voice. That's really helpful in giving us a starting place. Some people are really in tune with their brand. Others have no idea what's going on. I am the latter. Hannah helped me square away a lot of that.
You're good.
And as soon as we had a cohesive brand squared away is when we kind of, you know, started on the content creation journey, which the same goes for any new artist coming to us. Usually people need content. And it really depends on their goals. When we do our branding, we also go over goals and discuss, you know, what is a priority for you? Do you want to get more streams? Do you want a better social media presence? Do you want to have a healthy gigging life, you know, be out playing live as much as possible? And then we kind of reverse engineer it from that main goal. You know, it's a little bit different for each artist, but most of our artists want more streams. They want their music to be heard more. It doesn't really matter if it's in a live setting or not to them. So we'll start with social media. We'll do an audit of their social media, look at what have you done on your own that has been working for you? Because that's another way that's really helpful in leading into the authenticity is, well, what have you already done that's been helpful for you? What have you done that didn't work so well? And is that just a thing we need to 86, or could we restructure it in a way that would work for you? And then after that, we'll usually move on to either email marketing. The content creation kind of continuously happens, you know, in between releases, during releases. You always need fresh content, healthy mix of the kind of more casual stuff filmed on a phone, mix in with some professional photography, professional videography, email marketing, text marketing, advertising, like I said earlier, is a big part of what we do. We can even move a little bit in the direction of booking, but mostly we prepare an artist and get all of their social media profiles where they need to be, to where it's really easy for them to work with bookers. Like that's definitely not our specialty, although I don't know, Hannah's been killing the game on booking recently and finding venues for people. And then we, you know, after a few months, we come back, we reassess, and we say, are your goals still in line? Is your brand still what you initially thought it is? Did we make any headway on those goals? Do we need to adjust? We audit ourselves and the artists quite a bit just to make sure we're all where we need to be and that we're in line with what they want.
That makes sense. I was interested in like this idea of the branding. And so you said when you came in, you didn't know your brand, or you were in...
I had like 3 to 5 aesthetic things bouncing around in my mind. And you can tell this when you look at my art throughout the years. I kind of change personas. My branding and my aesthetic changes, and I finally realized that kind of is the brand. A big part of my brand
David Bowie
is
thing. You go from thing to thing. Yeah.
it kind of, and more of just like the human experience, man. Like the human experience is so weird and alienating and embarrassing and developing and learning and growing. And so, I just kind of went with what felt right in the moment, and I love it for what it was in the moment. And then when I wanted to move on to something new, Hannah and I spent a lot of time figuring out how to make callbacks to those previous versions of myself.
Oh, so they feel like they're connected in some way? Okay.
Yeah, like each music video kind of has a callback to something. At the end of my very first music video, I guess rather a call forward, it hints towards the next music video. A character is introduced after the credits that you don't see until the next music video. We kind of keep this continuity of, because I realized quickly that I can't stay with one brand. I just can't. I grow, and I just want to change things. I want to experience, different aesthetics, different things. And so we just kind of wrap them up neatly, and we say, that is Starlight Rachel.
Okay.
And then that is Lethal Dose Rachel.
Very nice.
And yeah, and so now I'm rocking with like the monochromatic white aesthetic.
Okay.
And honestly, I might stay there for a while.
It's a good one. It's good. I love that idea. It's so true too when it comes to art and music, to be restrained in one space, to make it continue to grow, right? Brand something that feels original, but also can continue to become new in different ways. And being able to do both seems difficult, but you succeeded, so it's awesome. And so after that social media world, you help them brand, you help them kind of sell and market, and then at this point, do we do the performances, or how do you come in, Hannah?
Yeah, so I host content sessions frequently at the studio where I'll have a professional photographer set up in the back, so you can get really great professional photography in a day, and then come into another space and get some really great footage of you talking about your music. Live performance videos is what we do in-house. And if anyone wants something outside of that, whether it's a cover art shoot or I want a live performance video or a music video, I have a variety of people that I work with in this city, so I can provide those services at very affordable cost up to like high-end cinematic, music videos. So I try to offer, services to everybody that, the whole scope of people that can afford, $125 for a photography session with a professional photographer. Usually it's, $300 to $500, $700 for a session. But because he's set up there all day and we can just move people in and out, that setup fee's not there. So I can offer services at an affordable rate to people.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
And some other people that you've worked with in the community, can you share some of the musicians that have gone through this process? Or
Yeah.
That would...
Yeah, so in addition to Hannah Jans and the Hot and Heavies and Rachel Winters, let's see, there's Loretta Kovacic, who has been a guest on KPFT many a time. There is, let's see, a wonderful R&B singer named Melody Davis. Let's see, a young woman named Ava Trachtenberg. Let's see, David Ryan is another R&B artist that came through. There's a great rock band called Crank Up the Silence, which definitely has been on KPFT at least once or twice. Let's see, what are some other people in our roster?
Lilith Max.
Lilith Max, right. Lilith was in today.
Mm-hmm.
We were working together earlier.
And we have an Americana artist named Johnny Blackthorn, who's amazing.
Will Carter.
Yeah.
Although we don't do music production for him, but we do a lot of marketing stuff, and we love working with him and all of our people.
Mark Winters
Oh, yes.
is another artist that we work with a lot. Let's see, what are some other ones?
We have a vocal coach who doesn't do music production, obviously, but they trained Beyonce, Solange, and Scott Hoyne from the Pentatonics, and they're up in age a little bit, and asked us to help them kind of get more students into the realm using social media advertising, and so they've been.
Yeah,
That's Tom McKinney.
Tom McKinney Vocal Studios is one of our clients
We've also got
too.
Ann Bew.
Oh, right.
We've got Ann Bew.
Got everybody.
We have a lot, yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And I think, why it kind of takes us a minute to list things off is we have some clients that kind of stick with us and and long term, and they're with us every step of the way, and we're helping them. But then we have a lot of our artists that kind of just pop in when they need help with something. They're not, like some of our artists aren't all that interested in the music production side of things, but they'd love some help with, or I mean, not the music production, music promotion side of things, but they'd love some help editing, a video they just shot, or they have a concept for cover art, and we don't see them all the time, but we love that we're that place for them. They know
they feel comfortable enough that I just need to get this one thing done. I'm going to reach out to you all.
Yeah, and that it's not going to, cost you the mortgage on your house.
Yeah.
It's a big deal to feel that you have that safe space you can bring stuff to, and that you'll be taken care of. It's excellent.
Yeah.
How about we take a quick break here and hear some music, right? And so, Rachel, are you okay sharing some of your work?
Yeah.
Right.
I'd love to share with you guys a song called While I'm Alive. It's about learning to love yourself even when you don't necessarily like yourself.
Okay, an important thing to think about. Yes, love it. So, you got it, Michael?
Let's do it.
Rachel Winters.
Even though you break down on the couch, flash out, disappear, and then come back around. Even though you're afraid to be touched, cause you might fall in love with the wrong ones. I never thought I would like you, cause you act like such a damn fool. You've never been what I'd hoped for.
Right. That was Rachel Winters. And what was the song called?
While I'm Alive.
While I'm Alive. That was fantastic. Yeah. And so I want to talk a little bit about how it came to be, that song in particular, and like how the genesis of it. But just reminding everyone out there, this is KPFT, and you're listening to Living Art. I'm here in the studio tonight with Studio Sassafras, and we have John Edward Ross, Rachel Winters, and Hannah Jans talking about their studio and this thing that they do, this service to the community. I feel you're helping out artists. You are putting them out there, especially in this kind of the newer artists that are figuring out how to market their work and to make their authentic selves and authentic music stay that way and get out to the community and a wider audience. And so it's wonderful having you. So this song, Rachel, how did it come to be?
Well, we had dove a little bit into the synth pop world with Starlight. We had dove a little bit into, what would you call Lethal Dose?
It's pop with a bunch of jazz in it.
Yeah. And then we came to a point where I said, I want to write something that's not so sad, because Starlight and Lethal Dose were really sad, which is funny because this song is kind of sad too. But I was going through a time in my life where I was dealing with a lot of self-deprecation. I really was not fond of myself. I was not my biggest fan. And it finally dawned on me one day. I was like, it's not that I hate myself. It's not that I don't love myself. I just don't like myself right now. I think, we all, hopefully, at our core, love ourselves enough to, keep going and continue the journey and be the best version of ourselves. But I think the reason it feels so painful sometimes is because we don't like ourselves. And sometimes that's worse.
Yeah, I could see that. That's a brilliant observation, that there's a difference, and it's okay to have like for yourself and still love yourself at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. And so we started off the verses. We wanted to trick the audience a little bit. We wanted to make them think that I was kind of throwing shade at an ex. So it starts off with, even though you insert all these things that are terrible things, I never thought I would like you, and da-da-da-da. And you don't realize until you get to the chorus that I'm kind of talking smack about myself. I'm just going off about all these things I really don't like about myself. But the chorus brings you to a resolution of, I will continue to love you for as long as I'm alive.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I could feel that, and I love the songs that kind of build an internal space, like a space inside of ourselves, and realize that's real, and that you can have different selves inside and kind of work through that. So I appreciate that. As a songwriter, I'm interested. I don't know much about songwriting. And I always imagine, do you take notes as you go along, or are you just inspired? I guess, is it like poetry, or how does it work?
Yeah, so a lot of how my musical collaboration with John Edward works is we either build something completely from the ground up, or I'll have an original concept or some stuff that's mostly finished. This one in particular, we wanted to build from the ground up together, and so it's it has to start somewhere. And so it started with a deep dive I had done on Erykah Badu. I had been spending a lot of time listening to Erykah Badu, and I really liked the quickness with which she sings and almost raps, like some of her lyrics. And I was like, man, that feels like the right energy to get something just angry and hateful out, about myself, because that's really what it was. It was a purge. It's not saying this is right to feel this way about yourself. It was let me just get it all out there so I can stop feeling it. And so I wrote a lot of those first lyrics and somewhat of a basic melody, but we ended up changing the melody a lot. When I walked John Edward through what the concept of this song is, what I want it to evoke, what it means to me, we then took a careful look at the lyrics, and we went through each lyrical line and thought, we only have so many lines in a song. We only have about 3 minutes and 30 seconds to say this. Are we taking up precious real estate with words that we don't want to use? Do we want to change them out? Does this evoke exactly what we want it to evoke? And then I believe the pre-chorus, chorus, and post-chorus was completely written from scratch with both of us in the studio.
Yeah, we did that together.
Yeah, okay. So it was just kind of that original, a part of the verse, some of the verse, a lot of it, I don't know, was originally what was brought in, and then we just built off of that, and the song developed, so much. And why don't you talk a little bit about some of our influences for this?
Yeah, so you were listening to a lot of Erykah Badu, and you were sharing that with me, and then I was listening to a lot of Michael Jackson, as I often do.
Never stop with him, yeah.
and was really, and it was also, and then as we got into the song, there were some sort of pop gospel-y elements that I kept hearing that were very much reminiscent of like sort of George Michael's like Freedom 90 era. But a lot of our process that Rachel was just talking about is, and this is how I work with a lot of people. I work with Hannah like this on her song, and it's like we're taking the lyrics and we're really trying to get the best out of them. Before we start talking about like what kind of drums are we going to use? Are we going to bring a live bass? Am I going to write a string a string quartet arrangement for this? It's really about how do we make the lyric and the melody and the chords work as well as possible together. So like in this song, like Rachel and I, we worked a lot of versions of, well, what if we change this melodic gesture to fit this lyric, or what if we let's invert that, let's try that again. So it's a lot of building the song itself up, and by that I really just mean like the bare bones, the words, the melody, and the chords.
Okay.
And so we spent a lot of time constructing that or reconstructing that, like when we were doing, Hannah, when you and I were doing The Water, we rewrote large portions of that song to sort of better serve the concept and the message.
Yeah, and I will say, as a producer, you really have this magical ability to portray the meaning of the song. And what I was going for, that my song at this was before I had my band, was about loss and about coming home, and just with the construction of it, just really nailed it home, and it just feels so right. So I see you do this time and time again with all of our artists. You're really good at getting to the core of what a song means to somebody or what they're trying to portray, and really doing it musically. And just it's just it's so beautiful to watch.
It's a skill. That's a hard thing to work with. I assume their art, their words, and reshape it within what they really want. That's,
with the composition,
right?
It's delicate too.
It is delicate,
process.
and so we're rewriting, all that stuff, and then we start bringing in, like, that's when we get to really start having a lot of fun with like what are the sort of arrangement elements we're bringing in. So like we're like, how do we be inspired by Erykah Badu's production, or how are we inspired by what Quincy Jones did with Michael Jackson on Thriller? Like, what are elements from that are I try to take like big picture elements, like the construction of a song, or the use of dynamics or something like that, as opposed to just like stealing a beat or something like that. And because
we're really careful about that. We don't, and we always give credit where credit is due.
Definitely. And so then we get to, it's like you get to spend sometimes an inordinate amount of time like finding the right synth sound, or like playing this guitar riff 20 different ways to get just the right articulation,
right?
Or the right settings on the amplifier, and that part gets really fun and really inspiring, because you get to sort of just sit with all this music that either is coming to you from the ether, wherever it comes from, which is a combination of your past and what you love, and then but sometimes you get to really just be like, what, I really want to understand like how this Erykah Badu song works. So like we're gonna spend half the afternoon learning that song really well. And
so
then
you're just like analyzing this music that's out there that you enjoy, and then see what you want.
And then see like, how is there some way to bring that into what we're doing in a way that feels authentic to what we are doing? So it's this constant process of communing with this music that you love, whether that's music that's just coming through you, or that you are decidedly, pointedly being influenced by. Like, so we did that with Erykah Badu and Michael Jackson and George Michael, and
something really special about the song to me as well. Those really lush harmonies that you hear in the chorus. Of course, that was inspired by some of those same artists we just mentioned, but really where that came across our radar was when I was doing vocal for hire work for some of our clients. I'll do background vocals or lead vocals if they don't want to be a vocalist. And we did some really lush harmonies for somebody else's song, and it was the first time I had ever heard my voice sound like that, and it almost made me cry. I was like, I didn't realize my voice could sound like this.
Yeah, I can do this. Yeah, that's funny.
It was so beautiful, and I was like, it's going on our production bucket list right now. We have to do lush harmonies in a song, and that was a really special moment for John Edward and I as well, because a lot of what we work on production-wise and just in all we do with the songwriting and everything and recording, are the vocals and the colors of vocals, and that's a big part of what we do in the recording sessions. Is it's not just sing it and sing the right note. It's, are we in the right color of your voice? And he's been adjacent to a vocal coach. I don't want to say coach, but
I think of it more like,
comfortable saying that.
I think of it more as like the way I would treat any instrument, which is like whether it's me playing it or I'm composing for somebody else or I'm just working with somebody else, which is like, again, coming back to what's authentic, what is the reason this art is here? It's like, well, what's the color of your voice? If the voice is the instrument at this moment, what colors, what articulations are going to get us to that emotional wonderland that we're trying to get to?
Right.
And while I'm alive, needed to be big.
Okay, I can see it. And when you say color, like I'm an outsider, what do you mean by color? The color of a voice?
Give us a couple of examples.
Tone, really.
Okay.
Like you have there's so many different factors. You have your chesty chest voice, you have your light, airy head voice, but then you have, where is it sitting? Is it sitting up here and nasally, or is it sitting back here in the back of the throat? What color is it? Is it light? Is it thin? Does it have a lot of weight to it? And that's actually one of the major components of our vocal production, is playing around with multiples of those when we're stacking, doing double, triple choruses.
Like doing those lush harmonies.
The lush harmonies. I think, what is that, like a seven different tracks went into that? Or
it's, some arts of it are 4-part harmony with like 4 copies of your voice on each part.
Wow.
So.
Okay, I had no
And,
idea.
like,
It's funny, you just
colors.
hear it and you're just like, this is amazing. I'm enjoying this. But underneath this layers of stuff going on. That's it's incredible.
As a radio voice, are you doing Edward R. Murrow where you're like, ladies and gentlemen, this is the night, this is the night's newts, or are you going to be all NPR on us and you're going to talk like this and say?
That's true. You make choices there.
Exactly. So that's those are
those?
examples of vocal color right there.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, I love this idea of like you have the bare bones that you're working with, and I think some people have an idea. When I do, an outsider thinking of like music, that it's produced, that like an artist like just sitting there writes this wonderful song, is inspired and just makes it. But you're saying it's this long kind of process that's built. You have inspiration, but it comes from other songs and from outside influences and is built over time.
all your favorite songs do.
Okay.
I mean, I can't think of any song that I love and play on repeat that if I go right now to look at the songwriters and who brought this song into fruition, there's only one person other than maybe James Blake and Jacob Collier, and that's it.
So it's not like Eminem
They're
writing on a
freaks of
bus
nature.
lyrics. That's like I grew up thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of that can be part of it, you know.
Right.
And there are plenty, you know, there's like plenty of great songs we love that were, you know, where the lyrics maybe were written in an hour in a hotel room somewhere or in a studio.
Right.
But that doesn't mean the rest of what you're hearing
There's a lot more going on. Okay.
was just like,
Yeah.
you know, one take. Yeah, we showed up. We all just got it right the first time. Boom.
Gotcha.
You know, I mean,
Okay.
I'm sure that has happened once or twice, but like most of the time, it's not that.
We
Yeah.
have a song like that on the EP called I Don't Mind, where the lyrics themselves were written in the entirety of 15 minutes in a,
Oh, wow.
in a time of like wailing pain, but the structure of the
Oh,
song
no.
was
That's bad.
completely different than it originally was because there was no structure when I wrote it in 15 minutes. you know?
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. All right. Yeah, this is awesome. The artist has that support network to kind of help you have like these moments of inspiration, right? But it needs to be shaped. It takes a lot of work, and to have someone that can do that is a big deal. And so,
Yeah, and we try to take the same overall approach when we're helping people promote their music. It's like, again, it comes back to like, well, why are you making this art? Why are you like, it's a terrible business decision. Like, you're not doing it to make money.
Yeah.
So why are you doing it? Well, let's communicate that to people. Because most of the time, if somebody they have some good set of reasons, or some compelling, perhaps it's a better word, set of reasons that they are devoting this large portion of their life to make art. So other people are going to be compelled by that same set of reasons. Let's talk about that. Let's find ways of showing that through music videos, through photography, through words in an Instagram post. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
and if you can keep coming back to that, you can. I mean, it's messy. The confluence of art and business is messy. It always has been. It always will be. But if you can hang on to or stay as connected as possible to the reasons you're doing it in the first place, and have at least a little bit of faith that like those reasons are going to be compelling to other people, well, then you can maybe find your way through the morass of like, Instagram, you know, like,
right, not be overwhelmed by.
yeah. And like, oh my God, like there's 1,000 things to do to build a music career. And it's this swamp of possibilities and people trying to take advantage of you, and like, but if you can hold on to that, hold on to the reasons you're doing it, and find compelling ways to talk about, to convey that other than your music, because we are in a world where you need to have more than just the music.
Right, yeah. And like you said, it's been that way forever. I mean, that's
Yeah.
always been part of it. But you
Yeah.
can still have these wonderful songs
Yeah.
that persist and survive and rise above that with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's different ways of getting to that.
It depends on each person, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, I'm really enjoyed having you on tonight, Studio Sassafras.
Thank
You
you.
said you had some performances you wanted to mention, though, right? That are coming
Yeah.
up, some
Yeah.
live performances, which is always amazing for us at KPFT. Everything live. Yeah.
Yes. I'm playing with the Shame on Me and the Lonesome Haunts at the Continental Club on September 9th.
Be there.
They are
I
one of
love
my
Shame on Me.
favorites. Shame on Me
I
is one of
love
my
them.
favorites.
We talked about. Yeah, I'm huge. Yeah.
Oh, good. I'll see you there.
Okay. I'll be cheering you on too. I can't wait. Yeah.
I'll be at Rise Rooftop playing with Dave Ade, Halston Dare, and Chloe Coleman on September 28th.
Okay.
That's a really big gig I just landed, so I'm really excited about it.
Congratulations. That's exciting. Okay. Very nice. Okay, this is huge. And so, again, we have lots of live music coming up. We're with Studio Sassafras. And, yes, thank you for coming on. And
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank
I know,
you.
it's
You're
great
Wonderful
talking.
host.
Anything that you want to add before you go, or shout out to anybody out
Hang
the
in
community?
there, artists. Hang in there.
Yeah, maybe tell us how people can contact you.
Oh yes, thank you, Michael Woodson.
Yes, that's a big deal.
So we have a website, studiosassafrasmusic.com, and that same handle, Studio Sassafras Music, is how you could find us on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook.
We prefer Instagram.
Yes, Instagram is probably
That's the
the
way to go.
easiest way to interact with us on social media.
We don't ever check our TikTok DMs. I don't even know where they are.
Why Instagram is just the way to go.
It's the most sort of visually pleasing and easily searchable of them. Is
Okay.
really that.
Gotcha.
It has a, in that way it's a little bit more. It's proven to be more, at least currently, more effective in a reliable way to promote what we do personally, but also most of our artists. While TikTok is like the sort of the hot new kid on campus, and it is certainly the one that is most likely to go viral. It is highly unreliable, and it's really hard to do anything on it successfully other than be successful on the platform. As while it is the place that currently like record labels are snatching up any musician who does go viral on it, it's still the same odds that music label contracts have always been, which is about 1 in 100 of actually making any money once you've signed that.
Okay, I had
thing.
no
So-
idea. Wow.
So TikTok is great, but Instagram is more reliable.
Okay. Very good, very good. Okay, and so we know how to contact you all, artists out there. Huge opportunity, I think, musicians. And yeah, just really appreciate having you on and being part of Living Art. Michael Woodson, any finishing thoughts?
All right, I'll wrap it up here by inviting listeners to contact us at livingart.kpft@gmail if you want to be on air. And if you want to donate, go to kpft.org and you'll see a donate button. So thank you so much for tuning in tonight, listening to Living Art. And thanks to Studio Sassafras and Michael Carson and everybody who helped out tonight. Have a good night.